All right, so here we are again. Well, at least here I am again. It is my Saturday, the 28th of March, 2026. It is 1:24 p.m. here on the West Coast, here in California, land of people leaving California land. People are leaving this state in droves. I wonder why. Anyhow, so I'm going to go ahead and be going over an article that I had written back in April of 22. So the 26th day of the month, 2022. And before I begin to do that, or I'll give it a few minutes, regardless if anybody shows up or not. This is what I'm doing. So I'll just wait on myself when I feel like I want to do it. But I guess I can preface this and talk to myself for anybody that wish to, hear this on the playback. Here we go. When chelantic science crossed my path some years back, I noticed things that I had noticed before with other communities, I guess you could say. I don't even like to really use the word community for the online experience because it falls under a different category of community. And I find there's a great lack of accountability for most people. But if you're obligated within your own personal community where you live and you're involved, and you can't avoid that unless you move. But online, you can just disappear or not say anything or say things and run away, and all these immature, undisciplined, childish behaviors that we see a lot. Well, I have. And so I had got fed up with what I was seeing, not necessarily in chelantic science specifically, all right, but just in general. Over actually the period of time in which I had been online, in my so-called connection with other people, and it seems, doesn't seem, this is exactly what it is. There's always a few that do the work of the many. And there's no reason for that other than people just don't want to do anything. They rather, like within the church, mostly my experience is that people like to come in and they just like to sit and they like to be served. They like to be taught. They like to just come there. And some of those who come in and they do that, of course, they're in the process of learning, and they need to be able to get to a certain stage before, at least the way they feel, before they can act on it. But mostly they never do. The majority never really acts. It's always the minority that's doing the work. And, that just is not sustainable. There's no wonder things have remained the same for as long as they have. Just saying. So from myself, that is, observation, participation throughout the many years and decades, being involved in the church, being part of ministry for about 15 years or so, from every extent that you can think of, participating in. It's a long story, but my point is that I was able to see things from a broad view. So it's easy to recognize stuff, and of course going online, why wouldn't that be also in all these so-called online communities. It's in some, well, like I said, or had mentioned, the online situation doesn't give forth the conditions for accountability. That's based on the individual rising up and demonstrating character and integrity, and what they say that they're going to do, they do it. And that's the individual. And that's definitely not the majority in regard to behavior. So I had decided to go ahead and write an article and post it on my website at the time, again back there in April of 2022. But this observation and this ongoing thing that I keep running into, and it's very discouraging for those who have to do all the work themselves. And like I said, that's very few. And if anybody's offended by this or they disagree with me, that's fine. That's none of my business. I'm 65 years old. I'm just telling it the way that I've experienced it, and I've had plenty of experience with it. I can give you an analogy, okay? I was talking about sustainability, right? So sustainability in regard to the example being, if you have a community garden and you have, say, let's say 300 people that live within that community, and you only have like 2 to 3 people that are working that garden for the community, that's not sustainable. Everything is on a few people for the many. That's not sustainable. And you can extrapolate that idea and see it around you. If you really take time to look and you have self-examination at the same time, and you realize that's pretty much what's going on. Again, to go back to the idea of the church or people coming in and sitting in the pews and being taught and really not doing much of anything, really just kind of showing up, not participating, not doing the work, not doing the work for themselves in regard to their own growth. That doesn't hold any benefit, now does it? I mean, for the whole, because again, it's put on the few to do the work of the many, which is not sustainable. So I think I prefaced this enough, and I'm just going to go in here and read this, and then I'm going to go ahead and close out, because nobody's showing up, which is very typical. I've been here, I know, I can't help but say it, man, I've been here for 16 years, and this is the result. All right. Everybody wants to be entertained or tickled. So, boots on the ground, April 26, 2022. All right, you can take from this as you will, but I said I was going to talk about this, so this is the time. All right, so with the obsession of ascension, and this is what I seen, it was ongoing. The obsession of ascension in the spiritual community, what is greatly overlooked and mostly ignored is that it is what we're doing here in this earthly incarnation. What good, what works, what are we doing? That's the question. What is our participation on a personal accountability level? So along with the ascension obsession, there are those that clamor for the guidance, and I ran into this ongoing. Those who are clamoring for the guidance of so-called enlightened ETs to follow their so-called words of wisdom and wait with bated breath for the next new thing to proceed from the so-called contactee communities. While this is all going on, there is an overall neglect of what one can be doing to better the world in which they reside, their local communities. And I'm talking about boots on the ground, meaning your physical community, not the online thing. The online communities are ways to get things done in the real world. Okay? It's a way of communication. It's a way of being able to connect and network with one another. Very valuable tool, but it doesn't stop there. And mostly it does. So we, as incarnates, are the ones with boots on the ground, right? We know what it means to live here in this world, and only we can change it for the better. There has been a replacing of the word service with the word vocation and calling it a brand, pretending it to be an act of spiritual integrity. Now, if I may be clear, we are not here to save, but to serve, respect, and honor one another through accountability, availability, and that for all life. Note that the virtue of love is expressed through many other virtues equally. Now, admonishment is an expression for the betterment of all life, yet it has been treated in some so-called spiritual circles as being judgmental or negative, which is not true. The basic concepts of respect, let alone love, are talked about as long as it coincides or appeals to one's indoctrinated system of belief. Personally, I've spent 27 years in Christianity, everything from fundamentalism to Jewish messianic movement, and I have to say, I haven't experienced such divisive and unruly behavior as I have within the New Age. And I hate to even say that I've been part of it. However, I have been privileged to meet and come to know some of the most wonderful people, which I have come to call the uncommon man and woman. These uncommon folk are the remnants within the world that is needed to build meaningful communities, real boots on the ground communities for a promising future. There is a simple approach to creating a real meaningful experience through community by showing honor and respect in the following ways. Value everyone's abilities. Expressing encouragement by highly esteeming one another, their unique value. The equal value of contribution to the whole of the community, teaching through example, demonstration through example, looking for opportunity to pass down practical knowledge that benefits the community. What makes up a community is everyone's contribution for the benefit of all equally, for developing skills, that is to say, an ongoing development of each one's abilities, so to grow the community. The only way this is possible is through discipline, availability, and accountability exhibited through character and integrity, which is taught through example. Now, let me say this. I'm going to pause here for a moment before I conclude this. I'm always speaking to myself first. When I write something, when I think something, it's a reminder to me, it's a renewing of my mind to these practical truths, these foundational principles. Okay? So don't think I'm preaching at you, because I'm not. I'm sharing this with you. You take it for whatever it's worth to you. But I know the value of this, and I know how important this is. Before anything can be done, there has to be each individual working with personal accountability for what they have to offer. And we need to be able to encourage one another in our process. We need to be able to reach out to one another and ask for help if we need it. And to be paying attention to those things around us outside of our initial family. All right. That being said, I'm going to conclude with, we need only ourselves to be response able to respond, making ourselves available to one another, and work co-creatively to change this world for the betterment of all life, therefore setting an example for coming generations. We have no need for extraterrestrials helping us, for they don't live here. And the ones that do, and it's contrary to the betterment of all life, you certainly don't need to be paying attention to those. We are the ones with boots on the ground. We know what to do. We just need to do it and stop wasting time and energy waiting for outside assistance. Outside assistance can come when we as humanity respect ourselves and have assurance of our equal value in all of creation. All right, that's all I have to say today. I'm going to sit here and kind of wait, see if anybody shows up. I'm not going to repeat that. You can go back and listen to it if you want, but this is what I was intended to do today. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but today was obviously the day. So thank you for those who have showed up. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you. I'm not quite sure what that is. Sorry, apologies. But you say, I'm here. I recognize that you're here. I think that's Mike. Is that Mike? Is that you, Mike? If that's you, let me know, because the monitor's too far away from me to really tell. I recognize Daphne because I can tell. I can tell her little icon there. But I'm guessing that's Mike. Is that you, Michael? If that's you, brother, thanks for dropping in. All right. So, how's the audio? Just curious at this point. It fluctuates in this house quite a bit, and I can't tell by the levels. You know, that's really not an indication for me. Is it distorting? Is my voice distorting again? Yep, I thought it was you, Mike. All right, great. Now I'll recognize you from now on. All right. So, again, I'm going to ask the question, how's the audio? I mean, it's loud enough. I know it's loud enough. But it's not distorting or anything, is it? At least it's... Okay. All right, thanks, Mike. All right. Anybody want to respond to what I had just went over? You know, it's probably a good idea for me to repeat this. Not today. I'm not going to do it again today. But I will repeat it because I think it needs to be repeated. This is just basic common sense stuff that it's been neglected. And it's called admonishment. For those who may want to look up that word and who are not familiar with that. There has to be correction when we're off, running off. And I mean, can you imagine a basketball team? You have 5 players, right? You got 5 members on the basketball court, and they all decide to run wherever direction they want to go. And they're not working together. There's no way that they can play the game. And this is what has been going on forever. There's these little pockets of people working together, but nobody's as a whole is coming together. Those who are in leadership position who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, those are the ones that need to be directing things, because they've been at it for a long time. But everybody seems to be in this little circle, in this little confined bubble that they've created, and they surround themselves with themselves, and they surround themselves with other people that have similar experiences as they do. For me, I just don't get that. In order for things to work, it has to be boots on the ground. There has to be communities right where you live that are working towards one another. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's far from going to be easy. But if we can come together with an agreement and a foundation from that, a creed, if you will, we can hold to that. When we know it to be true, certain things are evident. Certain things are just evident and true within virtually everybody. And if we can lean on those things, and understanding love and respect and honor and accountability, these virtues being the foundation for working with one another, what you believe is not necessarily what I need to believe, or vice versa. But we can come together on the basic foundational premise of loving one another, honoring one another, being accountable to your words and through your deeds, leading by example, and respecting people's position where they're at in regard to how they perceive things. That's always incremental in regard to one's life. It is a process, unless one stops and decides just to rest within that. And that's fine too. Perfectly fine. Bottom line is being available to one another under a simple, fundamental creed, which everybody wants to be respected. People want to be appreciated for what they do, right? And then honoring those things, uplifting one another, highly esteeming one another, especially the upcoming generation when they're working. I'll go back to the analogy in regard to like a community garden. Say you have like 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds. You're leading by example for them. You're showing them how to work the garden, how to plant, what this plant is, what this produces, what it's required to cultivate it. And that's a process, but you're leading by example. So when they get older, they have this foundation in regard to how to serve, what to do, how to lead and show by example, be able to teach. These are fundamental things, which seems to be greatly amiss. And it's not going to happen online. This is a tool. It's only a tool, and it only can be a tool. Very effective, can be very awesome, great way to network, but it's boots on the ground. It's where you live is what matters. That's where it has to go. We're so isolated from one another. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not, in no way, shape, or form am I saying this is easy. It's not. Okay? But nothing worthwhile is. It requires discipline, it requires training, it requires effort, and usually above and beyond what you think you're capable of doing. But there has to be movement. And go back to the analogy of the basketball team. If they don't play together and work together in a very coherent way, knowing how to, serve one another within the process of the game and be accountable and do all the work that's necessary to be able to do that once they're doing it. But if they just decided to just do whatever they wanted to do, it doesn't make any sense. Start running off and run up into the, up into the steps and just kind of run around and start playing on the other side of the basketball court, and it just becomes chaos. All right? Maybe not a great analogy, but you get the point. We have to work together, and it's been like pulling teeth. for me online. I've tried to connect to people, and for me, it wasn't about whether or not they had this high status. Equal respect for all, okay? But for some of those who are in that so-called high status, they wouldn't have nothing to do with me. I don't know you, you know? These are not the things that they were saying, but I was actually asked who I was at one point. Why is that relevant? Isn't it more relevant what I am saying or, talking about or asking? Yeah, those things I don't get, and I will never get, because it just makes no sense to me. I'm not of the same spirit. So, you have to live your convictions. Preaching them, not such a good idea. But living them through example. And especially when your path that you've been on has been a very narrow one. Well, for sure, you don't see too many people on your path. You're walking alone most of the time, and that's been my situation. But it's your path. But you see a lot of things. You can observe a lot of things. And I have, and discerning a lot of things in the process. And these foundational truths that I'm communicating to you are by which we are able to move forward and co-creatively, truly manifest according to our intentions collectively. But there is just so much. So, two people are a community. If you can bring it into the world and create a foundation and have a platform from which generations, younger generations, can continue that work. And it's through example by which this is done. Not through word, but through deed. The word is validated through the deed, through the example of leading by showing. Show, don't tell. No, I did that, Mike. No. No. Did I say no? Been there, done that. No, that's not how it works. That's not effective. Preaching to what? To who? I'm called to those who are meant to be called to accountability. That's somebody else's thing, What I know and some of the things I shared with you, Mike, that's not the full picture, okay? Where I stand and what I know and is different from what one would believe, and in this case, what you may believe concerning myself, concerning what I've shared with you in private. It's not the full story, not even close. I have a much broader view than that, right? I just know that there's reasons why I said what I said, okay? And I know it's probably misunderstood, and it seems in most cases it is. And that it is what it is. Because especially when we're talking online here, you're dealing with this stuff online. It's not like being in the same room. In the same room, I can have eye contact and I can actually tell you or anybody else what I actually mean. I can't do that through a phone. I can't really do that through, texting or anything like that. That's not possible. It's broken up. It's fragmented. So, yeah, just saying. Yeah. Well, this has been it's been very frustrating, It's been very frustrating to be carrying this and walking in this and seeing it come together and see it fall apart, see it come together, see it fall apart, see it come together, fall apart. That's very discouraging to want to continue. It really is. But what I'm saying is, and that's the reason why I use the analogies that I used, you have a team works together in order to be able to perform in unity together. That's the reason why I use the basketball team. I'm talking about professional basketball team. You get to that place because of discipline and training. And your skills are developed and yada, yada, yada. I'm talking about working together with people, not one person or two people doing the work. I'm not talking about a service within our emergency services, although that's a platform from being able to learn greatly from it, and not diminishing that. But I'm just saying that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about change here on a global level. Of course, it's not a globe. Sorry. It's hard to not drop back into some of this, vernacular that's been programmed into me. But I'm talking about from a world perspective, changing the consciousness, influencing the consciousness to the better. And that is through people who have been walking the path all their life. And they have wisdom, discerning skills, and the ability to demonstrate through the act of example. But what my situation has been, and which has been discouraging, is that building it up, and it keeps falling apart. It's not easy. But how things are going to change here is through coming together in unity and putting because I'll go back to the idea of those who have so-called prominence and what people would refer to that in regard to the internet. It's more about a brand. I just read earlier, Boots on the Ground, that article that I had written back in 2022. Okay? If you missed that, go back and listen to it if you wish. But this is what I'm talking about here. This is what I'm referring to. That subject matter. There's an accountability that has not been displayed. There's an availability that hasn't been made available. The ways in which those who have been walking along this path and being in the trenches, these are intended to be the leaders. But it's not about one's own thing and their brand. It's about co-creatively coming together and being available to one another and help orchestrate and then demonstrate through example what needs to be done. So generations coming up can follow through that. That's the reason why I use the example of the community garden, or teaching the younger generation to come in and teaching them botany, what type of plant this is, what it produces, the cultivation process, and having them work their hands in the ground and working and learning and participating, knowing what it means for the outcome of the fruit that is produced. Within the so-called spiritual communities, my experience is everybody's running off doing their own thing. How can anything get done on a collective level if everybody's running off doing their own thing? Well, people, you can argue that point all you want, but I do know when you come together, you can play the game together. And this has been the biggest conflict. At least that's the way I've seen it, because I know if there's enough that are moving, boots on the ground, with this intention, being available, being accountable, demonstrating through example, stuff can shift quite quickly. But from everything from dealing with cities on a political level, it's always been scattered and keeping the people from coming together. Now, if this online experience that we're having can help facilitate that, that's really extremely beneficial. But I still see pretty much most of the same thing. There's this going off and just everybody having their own thing and being scattered. People not really coming together, and they use the word family and all this other stuff. It's not going to work until it works right where you live. And if you have enough people sharing that with where you live, then you actually have a real community. Okay? Outside of that, you just have neighbors. It's just been under the umbrella of the word community. Hopefully, it's understood what I'm saying. I think it's pretty clear. And this has been the issue. This has been the main issue. There's plenty of individuals that have spent their entire life walking a certain path and have built up a foundation. Well, they have that foundation allows for them to be able to do things that others don't. And leading by example and helping to be a catalyst to bring people together, but that's usually not the case. It's usually not that. Usually it's about surrounding themselves with themselves and those who have the same experiences as they do. And I understand why they would do that. I totally get it. Everybody wants their tribe, right? But in truth, really, we're kind of like all part of the same tribe. There's just been subdivision within it. And from a spiritual level, the true level, there is no male nor female. We're all one. And it's demonstrated through example. And this is the reason why I want to be able to establish a foundation so that it can continue. It's not through word. Word is only effective according to the deed that follows it. Because without this, we're just going to have a repetition of the same things over and over again. And regardless of the split that is taking place, regardless of that, I'm the type of person, I'm speaking on it from a personal level. I've been speaking from a personal level. But I'm the type of person, and I know me, I will stay behind in order to finish the work, and I will work past closing. Okay? And I'm talking about what's going on here. So when everybody's splitting off and going off, I'm willing to stay. Why? What have I been talking about? Somebody's got to do it, because it doesn't resolve itself. It has to resolve through intention and example, not sacrifice. All right? I mean, that falls into different categories of definition of what sacrifice is. I would say persistence, agreement. When I think of agreement, I think of agreement like, oh, I agree with you. Now, these are bywords and expressions that we use, but for me, the way I look at it is when you agree to something, you walk in it. You don't stop walking in it. You maintain it. You are continuing. Consciousness is not a given. It is something that is to continue, and that's a choice. So for anybody that who's coming on right now, by the way, thank you for being here, first of all. It's always a pleasure to see all of you. Sally, Kimberly, Trinity, okay. Yeah, we can talk about as far as what the things have kept us from doing things and all the stuff here, but that's only going to repeat the same things over and over again. I'll give you an example, all right? When you look at Yeshua, and Yeshua goes to the man that's a crippled man, all right? Was there a power that came to transform that man, that healing? Was there a transfer of power of healing? There can be, but that's actually that's not really what's happening behind the scenes. What's happening behind the scenes, and please follow me with this, what's happening behind the scenes is seeing the man, or knowing the man not crippled, and seeing him within a different imprint of wholeness. I mean, really seeing it. So what we can do, and this is to respond to your bills and everything we got going on. I've been living under poverty for I don't know how long. Okay? And that I don't even like making that statement. But it's to be understood what we are broadcasting inside becomes our reality. So what we're praying about, because praying means communication, what we're praying within ourselves is being themselves over and over again. And we accept that as being normal. But that's not how consciousness works. This is a consciousness construct. The delusion is being within the hologram as the hologram under this condition which says to you, this is the way things are and this is how you have to handle them. You can't change it. That's not true. Absolutely not. Again, is it easy? No, but it's a process of reprogramming yourself by seeing what you really want and seeing that as the reality, and it has to be practiced. It's not like doing it once. It's like the idea of agreement that I was referring to, agreeing to something, and then you agree to it, and then you don't have to do anything anymore about it. No, it's ongoing. It is a state. Consciousness, in order to progress or to move forward, means to continue. That's what's required. When I said consciousness, consciousness is not a given, from which all that there is comes from there is that which is not. We have come out of that which is not. It's not nothing, because nothing is something. It's the antithesis of what this is. And the reason why we're doing what we're doing, because we are continuing. And that is a choice. And how you continue is a choice. We've been conditioned to believe everything's external. And only thing that's internal is the way that we feel about it. Not true. All right, so I don't know how much anybody missed here. I didn't see anything changing on my end. Normally I would do. But what's interesting is what I'm talking about, that's when it started to, that's when the broadcast stalled, probably. I'm sure of it. As long as you could hear what I was saying. Hopefully, can you let me know if there was any audio interruption? I don't care about the video. Video doesn't really mean much. The audio is what matters. And I've been having a lot of issues with the audio. So, but, you know. Was there any stalling, or did it stop? In regard to the audio, that's what I'm interested in. I'm going to go back and listen to it anyhow, but it would be nice if anybody could answer that for me. I don't want to lose my direction where I'm going with this either. All right, so we have an accountability to what we come to know. And what I'm saying to you, you can remove it from me. It was 30 seconds, audio is gone. Well, that's a huge amount. That's huge. That's really, because I said a whole lot within that 30 seconds. I was responding to Kimberly, and or I don't know who I was responding to. I apologize. I can't really see very well from here. So it takes me a bit to focus, because it's further away from me than allows for me to be comfortable to be able to read it. I had to really adjust. And if I'm talking or something, I'm just on that. I'm doing that because that's coming out of me and it's not premeditated. So anyhow, I don't know if you missed this or not, but I'm going to try to repeat what I said. I'm not quite sure, so I have to fill into myself. had to do with our conditions here. And I was referring to Yeshua and what he did in regard to healing the crippled man, okay? And it's like, was there power that comes forth that caused the healing? That's not how it happened. Now, did power flow for that? Yes, it did. But here is what was going on within the template. And what Yeshua, how he's seen this man. He's seen this man as whole. He actually knew him as being whole, healed. And from that, he spoke that. You'll see a lot of things Yeshua had said. He said, if you have a faith of a grain of a mustard seed, and that's a very, very small seed. It's one of the most smallest seeds that exists, all right, is a mustard seed, right? Very small. But if you have faith, what is faith? Faith is confidence, okay? It's not a blind thing running around and just believing. That's not what that is. It's confidence, that confident knowing. If you have that little bit of confidence and you hold on to that, embrace it, you can move mountains. So what does that mean? It means this is a consciousness construct. What we intend happens. What we, within ourselves, what we broadcast within us, what we say is true, what we believe, what we have accepted, and if we repeat these things and broadcast them, you know what that does? It reinforces your world to do and bring you that. Because that's your command. That's your prayer. That's your proclamation of the I am. That's your proclamation of I am. What is I am? It means that your sovereign source. If there's a name for God, it's I am. Because it's always about the continuation. To continue. Again, consciousness is not a given. It is a choice to continue. All that there is comes out of that which is not. That which is not nothing, because nothing is something. It is the antithesis of that which all that there is. And how that which all that there is has occurred is through the choice to be, to continue. So we can easily get caught up in our so-called conditions and circumstances as being our truth, the foundation from which we cannot get out of unless we do A, B, C, D, and E. And then we move to another stage. No, that's a conditioning based on belief of what is true. So, look, I'm going to go on Patreon. I'm going to provide the Ethiopian Bible, because there's a lot there that most people don't know. A lot of people don't know what's in the Bible, and they just heard other people talk about it. And I understand that, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But the Ethiopian Bible is probably one of the most purest records that you can run across, because it was removed from any political or any doctrinal, any institutional manipulation. There's 88 books. I don't know if you know anything about the canon that we have, but it doesn't have 88 books. And it goes into a lot of depth. And the Ethiopian priests, or if you want to call them priests, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but those individuals kept this record. And they studied it from generation to generation, outside of everything else. And you're able to see things, and because it communicates things that have been kept from us through Romanism. I have some of the materials here myself. My point is that there's more to understand about yourself because you come into this blank slated, you don't remember anything, you are taught how things work, and it's not how it works at all. So if we broadcast within us what we believe to be true, but it turns out to be it's a lie, we just keep creating the same world. And that's intentional, not on our behalf, but on those who set it up so that we would be broadcasting this prayer, this intention, or this as being the truth within us. So again, go back, Yeshua, when he heals this man, this crippled man, he didn't heal him through anything other than seeing him as being whole. And again, going back to the mustard seed and all, it doesn't take much. If you have the confidence of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. It usually just goes right over everybody's head. But the question is, have you really examined that? Have you heard that before? You realize how powerful that is? One needs the question is like, is this what we really are? And you start saying things on a deeper level, then you're able to change the way you think because you start to understand what you are. And you have to renew your mind to that. It has to be an ongoing thing. And it's never here in this world because it's tough here. It is. It's challenging, let's say. But we have to work through our internal understanding and renew our minds to what we know to be really true and start to see it that way. The circumstances and conditions that are going on around us is not a basis for what we do internally. We're greater than all this. Again, I am. You're God. You know? I'm not trying to be new agey, all right? be as far away from that as I possibly can. I have no interest in any of that. The issue is the truth. And understanding what it means to be conscious. And what it means to continue. These are foundational, fundamental aspects of actually the way everything is that it is. I'm talking about all of what we understand, all that there is, creation, all that there is. I'm not talking about this universe. I'm talking about the infinite aspect of this creation field. And it's because we have decided to continue. What does that make us? The creators of it, co-creatively. It's ongoing. In order to continue, it has to be ongoing, hence the word to continue. But all that which is, all that there is, it is the antithesis of that which is not. We've come out of that which is not and decided to be this, ongoing, to continue. And again, all that which is not nothing, because nothing is something. We don't want to be that which is not. We want to be able to continue, so therefore we do. So that's a choice. And how you continue is a choice. How you think, what you believe. There's a difference between believing and knowing, obviously, but it's your conviction and confidence of what you know to be true is what is created within you. It's the world that it substantiates the world as being the way that it is ongoing. So if I say that I'm poor, if I say that I'm sick, if I say I'm all these things, Circumstantially, those things may be observed from other people as well as myself, and you could agree with it and say, well, the evidence is proof of that. But within me, if I know that is not true, what is true is what I decide to continue with. And if I decide to continue with the antithesis of that, then that's the world that I will manifest. But if I continue in the state that I'm in and just reinforce it through my confession, then that's the world that will stay, and it actually will probably diminish even further. You can either expand, move into what you know, which is always internal, truly. And the internal understanding is not based on your circumstances or what you see. It's what you know. And you have to renew yourself to that. You have to see yourself the way that you want to see the world you want to create. Is it easy? Well, nothing's easy. But it is a choice. So again, I'm talking to myself. It sounds like I'm preaching at you. Nah, I'm just talking to me. You know, people can hear the sound of my voice and do whatever they want with it. But I have to speak the truth to myself because it elevates me and gets me back where I need to be. And it's an ongoing thing. It's a process. It's a renewal every day, in every moment of the day. Some of it I have more energy to be able to facilitate or to use, and some of it I don't. Sometimes it's just, I could barely whisper within me. But you got to continue. So it's a choice. Which one will it be for you? So it's not excuses or conditions, it's choice. Now, truthful statement. I suffered greatly in this incarnation, so I think I know a little bit about this. And it's a lot of it, mostly a lot of it is overcoming. The process of overcoming has been for me, and it is for everyone. Whatever level where you're at, whatever's happened to you, it's been a process of overcoming. And I know a few people personally that I know enough about their life story. They've been doing what they've been doing through overcoming. It's always about that. Making a choice and then walking in it. When you don't see the evidence, where you don't see any evidence of it on the exterior, but you see it within you. And you walk in that. And then you create that world that you're seeing within you. That becomes your proclamation. That becomes your declaration of reality. And for not saying anybody here listening, for those that are moved completely by the phenomenon, I don't expect any of those individuals to get anything from what I'm saying, because they'll see what I'm saying as being wacky, and it doesn't matter if I'm saying it or not. It's true. So, no offense. I'm not offended by any of that. I just know what is real and what's not. You know, for those that have ears to hear, they'll hear it. They'll acknowledge it. You know, if you haven't before, maybe this sparks something within you that allows you to be able to receive it and then readjust yourself accordingly. And it's a process, like I said, it's ongoing. It's to continue. So what choice are you going to make in the process of what you're continuing in? All right, so hopefully I can't tell by the levels here, but I'm just going to say this has been a good live stream. Well, today I'm going to put the Ethiopian Bible in a PDF form in Patreon. I'm just going to make it available to the public, of course. I would like for people to become members People keep dropping off, but that's, do whatever they can do. I don't see it as that. People can do whatever they're going to do. I am on what I'm doing. But again, what I was talking about in the beginning, I want to go back to that. We need to be available to one another, and we need to work with one another, and we need to lead through example. So accountability is very important. Looking to esteem one another highly. We can only do that when we have an accountability to one another. As mentioned before, when you have only a few people doing the work of the many, that's not sustainable, and it needs to be the opposite of that. The majority need to be doing the work, and the minority needs to be able to see that as an example and follow. So that's individuated. It's what we do individually, the choices that we make. We need to be our own leader, but we need to respect those who've set the pace and has been doing it for a lot longer. It's all about honoring, accountability, availability, recognizing, honoring. So I'll be putting it in Patreon and just making it available to the public. And if you're interested in, I only have so much time and energy. And long story short is that when people are interested in something, they have to show their interest in it and stay the course. If you're interested in it and you want me to be involved in that interest or a suggestion, and it has to do with what I'm doing, okay? But if you're interested in certain things, and I've been saying this over and over again, and I'll just keep repeating this, if you're interested, you got to let me know. Not just once. You have to participate. Otherwise, there's no really reason for me to do it. Okay? There's 24 hours in the day, and that's not enough time to do anything really for what I want to do. I still have things, I still have things that go back many, many years that have been sitting that I haven't been able to do. It is what it is. So trying to catch up with all this stuff is like an impossibility. But I'm willing to do what I can if there's enough people interested in that, and then you have to be invested in that. It's just the way it works. There has to be a co-creative effort. So I'll be looking to do that. I'll upload it to Patreon today. I'm going to take a look at it further to make sure it's the complete work, because it's been a while since I've had it. It's in PDF form, and there's some other stuff I would like to include with it from the Hagmanati library. But anyhow, there it is, folks. I guess I'm going to go ahead and say my goodbyes here. Thank you for all of those who showed up. Hopefully you can take away from this something. I know that I have, so I am in gratitude for that, the time that I was able to share here, because I'm sharing it with myself first. And so it's been uplifting for me, so hopefully that passes on to you. All right, folks. See if I can get this thing to work. All right, so blessings to you, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully.